The girl on the sidewalk. Leo towed the soccer ball, its scuffed surface rasping against Sycamore Street's fractured asphalt. He sighted down the weedy chaos of Mrs. Henderson's hedge, picturing it as the hallowed goalposts of Wembley. A swift kick sent the ball careening astray, bouncing beyond the greenery and onto the pavement. "Blast," he muttered, hurrying after it. That's when he noticed her. Curled on the curb, knees tucked against her chest, she hugged herself tightly. A wisp of a girl, perhaps his age or younger. A haphazard ponytail corralled her dark hair, and her large, shadowy eyes followed the meanders in the concrete. She radiated a profound solitude, a lone spar tossed on a sunlit sea. Leo faltered. Initiating conversations with strangers wasn't his forte, especially not with girls. A swarm of butterflies erupted in his stomach. He was far more adept at communicating with canines, or even squirrels. Still, something about her forlorn posture, so still and adrift, resonated within him. He scuffed his sneakers, the ball forgotten now. He edged closer. Hello," he ventured, the word barely audible. No response. Another step. "Hey," he tried, a touch louder this time. The ball lay untended. Finally, she blinked, her gaze drifting up from the ground. Her eyes locked with his, triggering a fresh flutter in his gut, this one more pronounced. They were somber eyes, wise beyond her years. "Hi," she replied, her voice a soft rasp, as if unused for a long spell. Leo gulped. "I'm Leo," he announced, gesturing to himself. She remained silent, simply observing him. "What's your name?" he inquired, attempting a friendly tone, mimicking Mr. Peterson, the school's affable librarian. "Maya," she breathed, her voice a mere whisper. "Maya," Leo echoed, savoring the sound. "That's a pretty name." He hesitated, unsure of his next words. "Are you all right?" Maya glanced down at her hands, plucking at a frayed thread on her jeans. "No," she confessed quietly. "What's wrong?" Leo probed, his brow furrowing. He closed the distance, halting directly before her. He detected a delicate scent of rain mingled with something sweet, unique, emanating from her hair. "I'm lost," she uttered, her voice cracking. "Lost." The word lingered in the air between them like a fog. Leo understood the sensation of being lost, even if confined to the woods near home. But this felt different, heavier, laden with unspoken sorrow. "Where do you live?" he inquired gently. Maya shook her head. "I don't know," she admitted, tears glistening in her eyes. "I don't remember." Leo's spirit plummeted. He felt at a loss. Crying girls generally sent him into full retreat. But flight was not an option this time. "Do you recall anything?" he pressed, striving for a comforting tone. Maya sniffled and wiped her eyes with a grimy hand, streaking dirt across her cheek. "A balloon," she offered, her voice thick with emotion. "A red balloon. I had a red balloon. A red balloon. That was it." Leo ransacked his memory, searching for a helpful clue. He surveyed the street, scanning for anything familiar, any potential trigger. "Was it a big balloon?" he asked. "Like round or elongated?" Maya squeezed her eyes shut, concentrating fiercely. "Big," she stated, "and shiny. Almost candy apple red." Leo pondered this. Mrs. Gable had sported balloons during her granddaughter's recent birthday festivities. Could Maya have been a guest? "Do you recall anything else about where you were?" he persisted. "Were there other kids? Any houses?" Maya shook her head again, her lower lip quivering. "Just the balloon," she whispered. "And a melody. Someone was singing. A song." Leo's thoughts whirled. What type of music? Upbeat? Melancholy? Rapid? Slow? He drew a blank. He possessed a terrible ear for tunes. The sun blazed overhead, radiating from the asphalt. Leo felt a droplet of sweat trickle down his temple. He needed action. Mere observation was not an option. "Hey," he soothed, crouching until he was eye to eye with her. "It's okay. We'll sort this out. I promise." He wasn't certain how, but the assurance felt necessary. Maya met his gaze, still tear-filled, yet a spark of something else flickered within them. Hope, perhaps. "What do we do?" she questioned, her voice faint and uncertain. Leo inhaled deeply. No solution presented itself, but abandoning her was unthinkable. He mentally consulted his mother. She always seemed to possess a solution. Perhaps he could phone her. "Come on," he urged, rising to his feet and extending a hand. "Let's go to my house. My mom will know how to help." Maya hesitated, then tentatively reached out and clasped his hand. Her hand felt fragile and cool within his. He squeezed gently, seeking to offer reassurance. Together, hand in hand, they ambled down Sycamore Street, leaving the soccer ball to its fate. The vibrant memory of the crimson balloon had faded into obscurity, but a new bond was forged in the moment, a delicate thread of friendship entwined in the tapestry of a typical afternoon. "Lost and found." "Mom," Leo announced, kicking off his mud-caked cleats. The familiar fragrance of baking bread, usually a balm to his worries, did little to soothe the frantic drumming in his chest. He motioned for Maya to remain close. Vivian emerged, her apron dusted with flour. Her smile flickered as she registered Maya's small, ashen face and the way she gripped Leo's hand. "Leo, darling, who's this?" He swallowed hard, suddenly unable to meet her eyes. "This is Maya. I found her by the park. She's lost, Mom, and can't remember anything." A crease of concern etched itself onto Vivian's brow. She knelt, meeting Maya at eye level. "Hello, sweetie. I'm Vivian. It's lovely to meet you." Her tone was gentle, reassuring. "Are you hungry?" "Fresh bread just came out of the oven." Maya remained mute, her gaze skittish, darting from one object to another. She squeezed Leo's hand tighter. "Mom, can she stay tonight?" The question burst from him, unbidden. "Just until we find her family. Please." Vivian hesitated, her gaze traveling from Leo's pleading expression to Maya's wary one. She knew her son's empathetic heart, his instinctive urge to shield the vulnerable, and the little girl's palpable fragility tugged at her own. "Of course, honey," she said, rising to her feet. "She can stay. Let's get some food into her, and then we'll figure things out." The fragrant bread seemed to offer a sliver of solace. Maya nibbled slowly, deliberately, as Vivian posed delicate questions. What was her name? Did she recall her parents' names? Her address? Each query was met with a shake of the head, her eyes glistening. All she remembered was a crimson balloon. After their meal, the search commenced. Leo, Vivian, and even his older brother, Ethan, squeezed into their ancient station wagon and cruised the neighborhood. They showed Maya's face to everyone they encountered, describing her clothing, the aforementioned red balloon. Nothing. No one recognized the child. Back home, Vivian contacted the authorities. They recorded Maya's description, promising to sift through missing persons reports. The hours stretched on, thick with apprehension and the oppressive weight of the unknown. As the evening deepened, Maya's exhaustion became apparent. Vivian tucked her into Leo's bed, relegating him to the couch. Sleep eluded him. Every groan of the house, every whisper of wind in the trees outside, jolted him awake, painting visions of Maya's distraught parents at their door. The following dawn offered no respite. No matching reports emerged from the police. Soon, social services intervened. Leo eavesdropped on hushed exchanges between his mother and a caseworker. Phrases like unaccompanied minor and temporary placement drifted through the air, each a chilling premonition. Later that day, Ms. Davison, a social worker, arrived. Though her demeanor was kind and patient, an undercurrent of unsettling formality permeated the house with her arrival. She spoke softly to Maya, her voice a soothing balm. "Maya, sweetie," she said, crouching beside her. "Since we haven't yet located your parents, we need to find a safe haven for you for a little while. A place where you'll be well cared for." Leo observed, his stomach twisting. He wanted to protest, to insist they continue searching, that her parents were out there, somewhere. But the words remained locked in his throat, stifled by a wave of despair. Maya's gaze found Leo's, her eyes reflecting a delicate blend of fear and resignation. He longed to reassure her, to promise everything would resolve itself, but he couldn't. He simply didn't know. That afternoon, Maya departed with Ms. Davison. Leo stood on the porch, watching the car recede into the distance, a painful emptiness blooming in his chest. He felt as if he were losing a piece of himself, a connection only just forged. A week later, Vivian informed Leo that Maya had been placed with a foster mother named Vivian Holloway. "She seems like a lovely woman, honey," Vivian said gently. "She's experienced with children who have experienced trauma." Leo seized upon that hope, conjuring images of a compassionate woman providing Maya with the solace and stability she desperately needed. He pictured Mrs. Holloway reading her stories, tucking her into bed, and creating a sense of safety. He hoped, more than anything, that Maya would find peace, building forts and friendships. The backyard transformed. It wasn't just grass and the tired swing set anymore. It was a kingdom, a spaceship, a hidden laboratory, whatever Leo and Maya imagined it to be. Old blankets, scavenged from the linen closet, became walls. Flashlights cast dancing shadows. Leo's dad even contributed a defunct beach umbrella, its faded stripes adding a touch of fantastical architecture. "This is way better than my old one," Leo said, adjusting a blanket draped precariously over a branch. His old one had been a solitary affair, built mostly of disappointment and gravity. This one was a collaborative masterpiece. Maya, her brow furrowed in concentration, was anchoring a corner of the fort with a smooth, gray stone she'd found near the fence. "Needs to be sturdy," she declared, her voice small but firm. "Against, you know." Leo didn't know. He didn't push. He just nodded, understanding that some things were best left unspoken. "Yeah, sturdy is good." He grabbed another stone, mimicking her actions. The earth felt cool beneath his fingers. Inside the fort, illuminated by the flickering beam of a flashlight, they told stories. Leo, usually shy, found himself opening up about his dreams of becoming a wildlife photographer, his voice gaining confidence as he described the images swirling in his head, the vibrant plumage of exotic birds, the serene gaze of a snow leopard. Maya listened intently, her eyes wide and luminous. Maya's stories were different, fragmented, glimpses of a life she couldn't quite grasp. A red door, the smell of cinnamon, a song, hummed off-key, that made her feel both happy and inexplicably sad. Leo listened patiently, piecing together the puzzle fragments, careful not to interrupt or pressure her. One evening, after a particularly long fort-building session fueled by peanut butter sandwiches and Leo's mom's homemade lemonade, they lay on their backs, gazing up through a small opening in the blanket roof. Stars glittered above, indifferent to their small dramas. Do you think they'll ever find my real family?" Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. Leo turned to look at her. The starlight painted silver streaks across her dark hair. He saw the fear lurking in her eyes, the vulnerability she usually kept hidden behind a wall of quiet resilience. He thought of his own family, the comfortable predictability of their lives, the unwavering love that surrounded him. He couldn't imagine what it would be like to be lost, adrift, without a place to truly belong. "I hope so," he said, his voice firm, "if that's what you want." Maya was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "I don't know what I want." Leo reached out and gently took her hand. Her skin felt small and fragile in his. Then we'll figure it out together," he promised. "Okay, whatever happens, I'll be here. I promise." He meant it with every fiber of his being. He didn't know how he could possibly influence the decisions of social workers or the whims of fate, but he knew he could offer her his unwavering friendship, his loyalty, his unwavering presence. The silence stretched between them, filled only by the chirping of crickets and the distant hum of traffic. Then Maya squeezed his hand, a silent acknowledgement of his promise. The days that followed were a blur of shared adventures. They explored the creek behind Leo's house, searching for tadpoles and building dams out of mud and stones. They raced their bikes down the quiet streets of their neighborhood, the wind whipping through their hair. They spent hours in the library, poring over books about faraway lands and fantastical creatures. In the evenings, they retreated to their fort, their sanctuary, where they could be themselves, away from the judging eyes of the world. Leo read aloud from his favorite adventure novels, his voice animated and full of enthusiasm. Maya drew pictures in a worn notebook, capturing the images that flickered through her mind, fragments of memories, dreams, and the faces of the people she was beginning to care about. One afternoon, Leo's mom found them in the fort, surrounded by books and drawings. She smiled, a warm, genuine smile that reached her eyes. "You two are quite the pair," she said, her voice soft. Leo blushed, suddenly self-conscious. He worried that she would think they were being too loud, too disruptive. But Mrs. Maxwell just ruffled his hair and winked at Maya. "Don't let me interrupt your important work," she said, before quietly retreating back into the house. That night, as they lay in the fort, watching the stars, Maya turned to Leo. "Your mom, she's really nice," she said. Leo grinned. "Yeah, she is." He hesitated, then added, "So are you." Maya smiled, a shy, hesitant smile that transformed her face. "Thanks, Leo." He knew, in that moment, that their friendship was something special, something precious. It was a lifeline in a sea of uncertainty, a beacon of hope in a world that often felt dark and confusing. He didn't know what the future held for Maya, but he knew that he would be there for her no matter what. He would keep his promise. Facing the world, the school bus wheezed to a halt, its air brakes sighing like a deflating beast. Maya gripped her backpack. Its humble were a sharp contrast to the logo-laden status symbols paraded by her classmates. She'd chosen a seat toward the rear, hoping to blend into the background, but her efforts were futile. Murmurs trailed her as she made her way down the aisle, fragments about cast-offs and scholarships pricking at her. Leo, waiting under the familiar oak tree, caught her eye and offered a reassuring grin. He'd seen her faltering steps, the slump of her shoulders. He understood the school was a different animal than his backyard, a place where compassion seemed to wither under the sterile lights. "Hey," he greeted, his voice a comforting beacon amidst the whispers. "Ready for another day of algebraic equations?" Maya offered a shadow of a smile. "As ready as I'll ever be." As they approached the entrance, a gaggle of girls giggled, singling out Maya's mended jeans and faded tee. Leading them, Tiffany, with her impeccably styled hair and a purse that likely exceeded the value of Maya's possessions, tossed her head. "Love the ensemble, Maya. Estate's sail find." A flush crept up Maya's neck. She struggled to ignore them, focusing on putting one foot ahead of the other. Leo's hand briefly touched hers, a silent gesture of support. The real ordeal began in the cafeteria. No sooner had they settled at their usual table than Chad Sterling swaggered over, his entourage trailing behind like sycophants. Chad reigned supreme at Crestwood Middle School, blessed with captivating looks, athletic prowess, and an inexhaustible allowance. He also had an uncanny knack for belittling others. "Well, look who it is," Chad drawled, his gaze raking over Maya with open disdain. "If it isn't the charity case. Heard you're shacking up with the Maxwells now. Guess they're feeling benevolent." He paused for effect. Or maybe they just needed someone to weed their garden. Maya's breath hitched. She wished she could vanish, seep into the floor tiles, and disappear. The cafeteria din receded into a muffled buzz, overwhelmed by the frantic drumming of her pulse. Leo's chair scraped back as he rose, his face burning. He was smaller than Chad, less self-assured, but a spark of defiance flared in his eyes. He couldn't simply stand by and watch Maya be humiliated. "Lay off, Chad," Leo declared, his voice trembling slightly but firm. "What's it to you who she's living with?" Chad smirked, clearly relishing the reaction he was eliciting. "Just pointing out it's a bit odd, isn't it? Taking in some random foster kid. What happened to her real family, anyway?" The query hung in the air, heavy with malice. Maya winced, the question a stark reminder of the void in her history. Leo stepped closer, his fists clenching. "That's none of your concern, Chad. And Maya isn't random. She's a friend of ours." He stressed the word friend, an act of loyalty and a challenge. He'd never confronted Chad before, never courted attention. But seeing the pain in Maya's eyes, the way she was trying to disappear, something within him snapped. Chad barked out a harsh laugh. "Friend? Please. You just pity her. She's probably got baggage, you know? They all do." "Shut your mouth, Chad," Leo snapped, his voice gaining conviction. "You don't know her." He puffed out his chest, a gesture that felt strained. He wasn't a tough guy, but he would fight for Maya's sake. The cafeteria had fallen silent, everyone transfixed by the escalating drama. Even Chad seemed momentarily surprised by Leo's unexpected resistance. "Or what, Maxwell?" Chad sneered, closing the distance. "You gonna run him on me?" Before Leo could respond, Maya reached out and tugged on his arm, pulling him back slightly. "Leo, it's okay," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "It's not worth it." Leo looked at her, saw the hurt and resignation clouding her gaze, and his anger ebbed. She was right. Trading blows with Chad wouldn't solve anything. It would only escalate the situation. But the sense of helplessness he felt, the inability to protect her from the world's cruelty, was almost unbearable. He took a steadying breath, trying to compose himself. "Just leave us alone, Chad," he repeated, his voice quieter but resolute. Chad, sensing victory, smirked again. "Whatever. Just don't come crying to me when she lifts your lunch money." He and his cronies ambled away, leaving Leo and Maya in the ensuing silence. Leo turned to Maya, his face etched with worry. "You okay?" Maya nodded, although her eyes swam with suppressed tears. "Yeah, thanks, Leo, for everything." Leo squeezed her hand. "Anytime, Maya. Always." He understood that navigating the world wouldn't be easy, but they would face it together. He would be her defender, her confidant, her unwavering friend. And perhaps, just perhaps, that would suffice. He knew perhaps was not enough, and he'd have to do more. Teenage dreams. The air in Leo's room, thick with the scent of old books and his mom's lavender potpourri, vibrated with the low hum of his ancient desktop computer. Maya sat cross-legged on his bed, sketching furiously in her notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. Outside, cicadas buzzed their end-of-summer song, a soundtrack to their shared teenage existence. "So, seriously, what are you going to do after graduation?" Leo asked, his eyes glued to the coding tutorial flickering on his screen. He was trying, and mostly failing, to grasp the intricacies of Python. Maya tapped her pencil against her teeth. "I'm thinking pre-med," she said, finally looking up. Leo swiveled in his chair, surprised. "Really? A doctor?" He'd always pictured her as an artist, maybe an architect. Her notebooks were filled with intricate drawings of buildings and fantastical creatures. "Yeah," she said, a determined glint in her eyes. "I want to help people, fix things, maybe even figure out how memories work." "It's ambitious, I know." Leo smiled. "Ambitious is good. You be amazing." He meant it. He couldn't imagine anyone more dedicated or compassionate than Maya. "What kind of doctor? Neurology, maybe?" The brain is fascinating, even if it's also a terrifying mystery. A shadow crossed her face, gone as quickly as it appeared. Leo knew she was thinking about her own fragmented memories, the blank spaces that haunted her. "What about you?" Maya asked, turning the question back on him. "Still dreaming of becoming the next big game developer?" Leo sighed. "I don't know. It seems less appealing now. All that time spent alone in front of screen. I want to do something that matters, something real." He chewed on his lip, a nervous habit. "Maybe teaching or social work." Maya smiled. "You'd be a great teacher, Leo. You're so patient, and you always know what to say to make people feel better." The compliment warmed him, chasing away the usual self-doubt that clung to him like a persistent shadow. A week later, the air crackled with anticipation. It was homecoming, the first real high school dance either of them had ever attended. Leo, after much agonizing, had finally convinced himself to ask Maya to go with him. Not as a date, exactly, but as friends, a buffer against the awkwardness. He stood nervously in the hallway outside the gymnasium, adjusting his tie for the 10th time. The music pulsed from within, a mix of pop and electronic beats that made his stomach churn. He spotted Maya across the crowded hall. She was wearing a simple, elegant blue dress that brought out the color of her eyes. Tiffany and her usual entourage were circling her, their whispers like venomous darts. Leo felt a surge of anger, but he pushed it down. He couldn't let them ruin this night for Maya. He strode toward her, ignoring the snickers and stares that followed him. "Hey," he said, reaching her side. "Ready to dance?" Maya looked relieved to see him. "As I'll ever be," she said, offering him a small smile. The gym was a kaleidoscope of flashing lights and swirling bodies. Leo wasn't much of a dancer, but he found himself surprisingly relaxed with Maya. They laughed, stumbled, and occasionally even managed to keep in sync with the music. For a few hours, the outside world faded away, replaced by the simple joy of being together. Later, as they walked home under the star-dusted sky, a comfortable silence settled between them. "Thanks for tonight, Leo," Maya said softly. "I actually had fun." "Me too," he said, kicking a stray pebble down the sidewalk. "Even if I did almost trip over Tiffany's feet." Maya giggled. "She looked like she wanted to kill you." "Worth it," Leo said, without hesitation. They reached the Maxwell's house and paused at the front porch. "So, about this doctor thing," Leo said, suddenly remembering their earlier conversation. "You really think you can do it?" Maya looked up at the stars, her face illuminated by the porch light. "I have to try, Leo. I owe it to myself. And maybe if I can understand how memories are formed and lost, I can finally understand what happened to me." Leo reached out and squeezed her hand. "I know you will," he said, "and I'll be here to help you every step of the way." The cicadas were silent now, their summer song finally fading into the quiet of the night. Only the promise of their teenage dreams hung in the air, shimmering with hope and the unwavering bond between two friends. The science competition, the periodic table blurred, a confusing mosaic of symbols and numbers. Maya blinked, bringing into focus the exam's final challenge, a detailed explanation of cellular respiration and its crucial role in supporting life. A low thrum of anxiety filled the room as students scribbled away, erasers squealing in protest. Yet, an unexpected serenity washed over Maya. The response unfurled from her mind, a lucid, well-structured argument that even the notoriously severe Mr. Harrison would find difficult to challenge. The bell's sharp clang shattered the strained quiet. Students scattered like startled birds, eager to escape. Maya lingered, reviewing her work one last time. She presented the test to Mr. Harrison, his face, as always, an impenetrable mask. "Johnson," he rumbled, accepting the paper. "See me after class tomorrow." A wave of apprehension washed over Maya. Had she overlooked something? Perhaps her explanation of cellular respiration, despite its seeming clarity, contained a critical error. The following afternoon, Maya found Mr. Harrison buried beneath towering stacks of assessments, his brow deeply furrowed. He glanced up, a fleeting expression of surprise, perhaps even admiration, in his eyes. Johnson closed the door. He motioned toward a chair. "Your test. Impeccable. You absolutely mastered the material. It's the highest mark I've given in years." A surge of relief coursed through Maya, so intense it nearly buckled her knees. "Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Don't thank me. You earned it." Which leads me to the reason for this conversation. Are you familiar with the Tri-State Science Competition? Maya shook her head. It's a regional event, held each year at State University, open to all high schoolers. A significant scholarship is awarded to the victor. Mr. Harrison tinted his fingers before him. "Given your evident talent, I strongly suggest you consider participating." A scholarship. The word resonated within her. College had always been a distant prospect, a glimmering possibility, clouded by financial constraints. A scholarship could redefine her future. "What kind of projects does it involve?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Mr. Harrison proceeded to outline the competition structure, judging criteria, and potential advantages in great detail. Maya listened intently, her mind already brimming with possibilities. Later that day, Maya discovered Leo hunched over his laptop in the library, an ecosystem of empty energy drinks and discarded chip bags surrounding him. He was mumbling about rendering engines and polygon counts. "Leo," she began, pulling up a chair. "I need your advice." She shared the details of the science competition and the coveted scholarship. Leo's eyes widened in disbelief. "Seriously? That's incredible, Maya. You absolutely have to do it." He paused, a shadow suddenly darkening his features. "Who else is competing?" Mr. Harrison mentioned Chad Sterling might enter. Leo groaned audibly. "Ugh, Chad. That guy thinks he's the next Einstein. He probably has a whole team of researchers working for him already." Chad Sterling, Northwood High's undeniable golden child. Captain of the debate team, star quarterback, and heir to the Sterling Industries empire. He embodied everything Maya was not: confident, privileged, and unashamedly affluent. The following day, Maya found herself in the chemistry lab, sketching project ideas. She was so absorbed in her thoughts that she remained unaware of Chad's presence until he stood directly behind her. Well, he drawled, his voice thick with disdain. "If it isn't the charity case, aspiring to be a scientist." Maya stiffened, pointedly avoiding his gaze. "Leave me alone, Chad." He chuckled, a low, grating sound. "Trying to snag the scholarship, are we? Don't you think that's a bit ambitious? After all, science demands resources, specialized equipment, a certain degree of sophistication. Things you simply wouldn't comprehend." Maya's fists clenched, her knuckles straining white. "I'm just as capable as you are." Chad arched a brow, a smirk dancing on his lips. "Really? Be realistic, Maya. You're completely out of your depth. This isn't some pity party. It's a serious competition for serious contenders. Why don't you just go back to whatever it is you usually do?" He waved dismissively. "Maybe cleaning up the lab after school?" The sheer condescension in his tone burned like acid. Maya finally met his gaze, her eyes blazing with defiance. "I'm not intimidated by you, Chad, and I'm not backing down." He laughed again, a hollow, triumphant sound. "We'll see about that." He turned and swaggered out of the lab, leaving Maya trembling, a volatile mix of anger and unwavering determination surging within her. She would prove him wrong. She would prove them all wrong. She would emerge victorious, not only for the scholarship, but for herself. Sabotage and determination. The fluorescent lights of the science lab hummed, a lonely soundtrack to Maya's late-night efforts. Diligence was her shield, focus her weapon. Each carefully measured drop of water, each precisely placed component of her filtration system, was a small act of defiance against the Chad Sterlings of the world. She was determined to make her project a novel approach to water purification using readily available materials, not just work, but shine. Outside, the October wind rattled the windows, a stark contrast to the controlled environment she'd created within her little corner of the lab. She glanced at the clock. Almost midnight. Leo would be worried. She'd promised to be home by 11. A quick text was in order. Her fingers flew across her phone screen, still at lab. "Almost done. Don't wait up. See you tomorrow." Back to work. She needed to run one more test, comparing the pH levels of the pre- and post-filtration water. The numbers were promising, almost unbelievable. She double-checked her calculations, a knot of excitement tightening in her stomach. This could actually work. The next morning, the knot had twisted into something far more sinister. Maya gasped, her breath catching in her throat. The clear tubes of her filtration system were now cloudy, the water within them a murky brown. The sophisticated sensors she'd borrowed from Mr. Harrison were gone, replaced by cheap imitations. The data logger had been wiped clean. It wasn't just ruined, it was deliberately, maliciously destroyed. Her hands trembled as she surveyed the scene. The intricate arrangement of filters, painstakingly assembled over weeks, was now a chaotic mess. It was as if someone had taken a hammer to her hopes, shattering them into a million pieces. Hot tears pricked at her eyes, but she blinked them back. Giving in to despair was a luxury she couldn't afford. "What happened here?" Leo's voice startled her. He stood in the doorway, his face a mask of concern. He'd skipped first period, knowing she'd be here early. Someone ruined it, she choked out, gesturing weakly at the wreckage. Leo stepped inside, his gaze sweeping across the lab bench. He didn't say anything, but she could see the anger simmering beneath his usually calm exterior. He knelt beside her, examining the twisted tubes and murky water. "Who would do this?" he asked, his voice low. Maya shook her head, but they both knew the answer. Leo's eyes narrowed as he picked up a small, rectangular piece of plastic lying amidst the debris. It was a fragment of a name tag, the kind students wore on field trips. He turned it over, his fingers tracing the faint indentation of letters. "Erling," he read aloud, his voice hardening. "Chad Sterling." Maya's heart sank. It was confirmation of what she already suspected. Chad had seen her as a threat, and he'd done everything he could to eliminate her. He probably thought he could get away with it, Leo said, his jaw tight. "That no one would believe you." "What do I do?" Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. "The competition is next week. I can't possibly rebuild everything in time." Leo stood up, his eyes meeting hers. Gone was the hesitant, insecure boy she'd met months ago. In his place was a young man, fueled by righteous anger and unwavering loyalty. "Yes, you can," he said, his voice firm. "We can. We'll rebuild it together." He started gathering the scattered components, his movements purposeful. "First, we need to document everything. Take pictures. Write down exactly what's missing or broken. Then we talk to Mr. Harrison." Maya hesitated. "But what if he doesn't believe us? What if he thinks I'm making it up?" "He will," Leo insisted. "We'll show him the evidence. And even if he doesn't, we'll still rebuild it. We'll work day and night if we have to. We'll show Chad Sterling that he can't break us." A spark of hope flickered within Maya, fueled by Leo's unwavering support. The task ahead seemed daunting, almost impossible, but she wasn't alone. She had Leo, and with him by her side, she knew she could face anything. They worked in silence for the next hour, meticulously documenting the damage. The air was thick with tension, but also with a shared sense of purpose. As they gathered the broken pieces, Maya felt a new kind of determination rising within her. Chad Sterling might have sabotaged her experiment, but he hadn't broken her spirit. In fact, he had inadvertently made her stronger. He had underestimated her resilience, her intelligence, and the power of her friendship with Leo. And that was a mistake he would soon regret. Triumph and recognition. A palpable tension clung to the air of the auditorium, thick as humidity. Long tables, meticulously arranged, reflected the sterile glare of overhead lights, each a miniature stage showcasing months of dedicated effort. Behind her creation, a water purification marvel of interconnected filters and transparent tubing that caught the light. Maya stood, hands betraying her anxiety with a barely perceptible tremor as she smoothed her borrowed blazer. The synthetic fabric felt alien against her skin. From the back, Leo offered a reassuring nod, perched precariously on a folding chair. She returned a hesitant smile. The judges, a panel of stern visages framed by lab coats and tailored suits, began their evaluation. Maya's pulse hammered as they zeroed in on Chad Sterling's elaborate robotic display. Chad, brimming with assurance, gestured theatrically, his voice resonating as he articulated the intricacies of his machine. A tide of insecurity threatened to overwhelm Maya. Her project, born of necessity and practicality, felt almost understated by contrast. Finally, the panel's focus shifted to her. The lead judge, a woman whose gaze could cut steel, approached first. "Ms. Johnson," she began, her tone devoid of friendliness. "Explain your work." Maya swallowed hard, her mouth suddenly parched. She launched into her explanation, detailing the science, the multi-stage filtration, the UV sterilization. She spoke of communities deprived of clean water, the diseases ravaging them, and the potential for her project to alleviate their suffering. As she continued, her apprehension waned, replaced by a burgeoning conviction. She was no longer merely presenting. She was advocating for the voiceless. A demonstration followed, transforming murky liquid into a crystalline stream. The judges drew closer, their scrutiny intense. For a fleeting moment, the soft whir of the pump was the only sound. Then, Chad Sterling sauntered over, a smirk playing on his lips. "Impressive, Johnson," he drawled, his tone laced with mockery. "But have you considered all possible contaminants? I seem to recall a rather unfortunate incident involving a certain missing component." Maya's stomach plunged. The sabotaged filter. She met his challenge head-on. "The system underwent rigorous testing with a wide array of contaminants," she countered, her voice surprisingly firm despite her trembling fingers, "and meets all safety benchmarks." "Recent tests?" Chad persisted, his eyes gleaming with malice. "Or are you relying on pre-incident data?" The judges exchanged knowing glances. Maya felt their collective assessment like a physical weight. Drawing a steadying breath, she held their gaze. "All tests were rerun following the replacement of the filter," she asserted. "The findings are consistent and independently verifiable." Chad scoffed, opting for silence. He had sown his seeds of doubt. He strolled back to his display, leaving Maya to withstand the panel's quiet judgment. The afternoon blurred into a series of rapid-fire questions and pointed demonstrations. Each query was met with confident responses, her command of the project unwavering. Leo remained her steadfast anchor, a constant presence of support in the back. At last, the judges withdrew to deliberate. The auditorium descended into an uneasy quiet, punctuated by nervous coughs and hushed murmurs. Maya circled her table, her energy refusing stillness. She had emptied her reserves of effort. Now, only waiting remained. What felt like an eon passed before the judges reappeared. The lead judge approached the podium, a subtle smile gracing her lips. After careful deliberation, her voice resonated, filling the room. "We have reached a decision." The air crackled. Maya held her breath, her pulse a frantic drumbeat. "The winner of the Sterling Scholarship for Science Excellence is Maya Johnson." A gasp escaped her lips. For a moment, paralysis gripped her. Then, a surge of elation washed over her, almost buckling her knees. She found Leo beaming, his pride evident in his shining eyes. As she made her way to the stage, scattered applause swelled into a triumphant roar. Chad Sterling stood, rigid, by his display, his features betraying barely suppressed rage. Maya paid him no mind. This was her moment. The lead judge presented her with a certificate and a check. "Your project," she stated, her tone imbued with warmth, "is not only innovative, but it addresses a pressing global crisis. We believe you possess the potential to effect real change in the world." Tears prickled Maya's eyes. She had succeeded. She had weathered sabotage, self-doubt, and fear. She had proven her worth. Later, as she and Leo exited the auditorium, the twilight sky a canvas of fiery orange and soft rose, Maya's smile refused to fade. The scholarship signified more than mere monetary gain. It was validation, acknowledgement, and an open door to her aspirations. "I always knew you had it in you, Maya," Leo said, nudging her playfully. "Always." Maya squeezed his hand in gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you, Leo," she responded, her voice full of heartfelt emotion. "Thank you for your unyielding belief." As they walked on, Maya looked up at the vibrant sky, her spirits soaring with hope. The future remained unwritten, but for the first time in what felt like forever, she felt that all things were within reach. A miracle reunion. The announcement ignited a blaze of attention. Maya Johnson, Sterling Scholar. Her face was ubiquitous, splashed across local news sites, gracing the pages of the town paper, even flickering across regional television screens. Maya felt strangely distant, observing the outpouring of congratulations as if from afar. One photograph, snapped after the ceremony, showed her clutching Barnaby, her time-worn bear. With his mismatched button eyes and faded plush, Barnaby was a silent confidant, a tangible link to a half-remembered childhood. Hundreds of miles distant, in a cramped apartment overlooking a throbbing city, Sarah Johnson stilled. The news story played out on the television. She'd been idly surfing channels, the drone a constant counterpoint to her solitude. Then the image seized her, a bright young woman, radiating achievement, cradling a teddy bear. Not just any bear, her bear, the one she had painstakingly crafted for her daughter, Maya, before life fractured. The mismatched buttons, one obsidian, the other sepia, a detail seared into her memory. A gas broke free, a sound suppressed for years. Could it be? Could it truly be her Maya? Sarah lunged for the remote, cranking up the volume. The reporter spoke of Maya's groundbreaking water purification initiative, her dedication, her unyielding spirit. The name, the age, everything aligned with chilling accuracy. But Barnaby offered irrefutable confirmation. Days dissolved into a frenzied whirl of calls, documents, and mounting trepidation. Sarah contacted the Child Welfare Agency, recounting every nuance she could recall about Maya, about Barnaby, about the day her daughter vanished from her life. Initially reserved, the agency swiftly became convinced. The proof was undeniable. Tuesday morning brought the pivotal call. Maya was in the lab, meticulously cleaning equipment, the echoes of her triumph still reverberating. Mrs. Davison, her foster mother, summoned her from the doorway, her complexion unusually pallid. "Maya, dear, there's someone on the phone for you," she announced, her voice trembling almost imperceptibly. It's your mother." Maya's breath snagged in her throat. Her mother? A phantom glimpsed only in fractured memories, a figure redolent of lavender who hummed lullabies. She hadn't allowed herself to entertain such a hopeful vision. It felt too precarious, too improbable. She accepted the receiver, her hand trembling violently. "Hello," she whispered, barely audible. A voice, delicate and tentative, floated through the speaker. "Maya? Is that you, Maya?" Tears surged, blurring Maya's vision. "Mom." The word felt alien, unfamiliar, yet resonated with an undeniable familiarity within her. The reunion was scheduled for the following week. A coil of apprehension twisted in Maya's stomach. What should she say? What would her mother be like? Would recognition even be possible after all these years? Leo, ever her steadfast companion, lent an ear. He listened patiently to her worries, offering encouragement and unwavering support. "You've got this, Maya," he assured, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "You're amazing. She's going to be so proud of the incredible person you've become." The appointed day dawned, clear and crisp. Clutching Barnaby close, Maya stood before the agency, her pulse hammering against her ribs. A car glided to the curb, and a woman stepped out. Sarah Johnson. Time had etched its mark, drawing faint lines on her face, but her eyes retained the same honeyed warmth, brimming with a love that defied time and separation. "Maya," Sarah breathed, her voice thick with emotion. Speechless, tears streamed down Maya's face as she nodded. Sarah rushed forward, embracing Maya in a hug. It was an embrace that dissolved 10 years of anguish and distance, a hug that felt like finally finding home. Maya nestled her face into her mother's shoulder, inhaling the evocative scent of lavender. "My baby," Sarah wept softly. "My Maya." I never ceased searching. The reunion surpassed all expectations. They talked for hours, weaving together fragmented narratives, bridging the chasm of lost years. Sarah recounted the circumstances that had led to their separation, the misfortunes she endured. Maya listened, her heart aching with empathetic sorrow. That evening, after Sarah had returned to her hotel, Leo visited. They sat together on Maya's bed, Barnaby nestled between them. "So," Leo began gently, "your mom." Maya's face blossomed into a radiant, unfeigned smile that lit up her eyes. She's wonderful, Leo. More than I ever could have wished for." "I knew it," Leo responded, nudging her shoulder playfully. "I'm so happy for you, Maya. You deserve this more than anyone." They shared a comfortable silence, the weight of their shared history palpable. "You know," Maya began, turning towards Leo, "none of this would have been possible without you. You believed in me even when I doubted myself. You helped me discover my voice, my passion. Leo flushed slightly, shifting uncomfortably. Hey, I just wanted to help. You did more than help, Leo, Maya responded, her voice brimming with gratitude. You were my rock. You still are. She reached out, taking his hand and squeezing it tightly. We've navigated so much together, Leo. Foster care, bullies, Chad Sterling. She laughed, a light, unaffected sound. And now this, a true miracle. Leo squeezed her hand in return. Yeah, he agreed, his voice thick with emotion. A miracle, and I'm so glad I could be a part of it. They sat there, hand in hand, two friends who had found solace and resilience in each other's company. Their bond forged in hardship, now celebrating a new chapter. The future remained uncertain, but one thing was unequivocally clear. Their friendship would endure, a beacon of hope illuminating a world that often felt bleak and unpredictable. Maya's miraculous reunion stood not only as a testament to the enduring power of maternal love, but also to the unwavering strength of friendship.